because he plays these, everybody knows he plays these knight f3, e3, b3 lines a lot online. He plays it in Title Tuesday, in Rapid. He's very, very experienced in these maneuvering games with double...
Never reason to celebrate prematurely.
What if one of them gets a move wrong? Do they get penalized if they misread the notation? They play h5 instead of a5?
That should be a harsh
instead of
penalty.
b6?
Yes.
Agreed.
They have to have the cat that's running around there on their lap the whole game.
Aww. Actually, give me that punishment. I'm a big fan of cats. Okay, there are the positions. Fishy and Hikaru, still a couple of moves to make. And it'll be white to move after knight b to d7. And the first big choice, I always wonder, do you put a pawn on d4? How quickly do you do it? And the second question, do you exchange on d5?
Yeah, those are big questions. I think other things being equal, you're happy with white. If after cd5, black has to go ed5, these structures with the bishop on b7, usually white is a bit better. But here it looks like after cd5, knight d5 is very possible, which often leads to a bunch of exchanges. I would guess neither. I would guess they don't play d4 yet, and they don't take on d5 yet. Moves like knight c3 or queen e2, like continue to slow it down. Then black has a choice if he wants to go pawn to c5, or leave the pawn there and go a5, play sometimes you'll see dc4, bc4, c5. So there's a lot of room for creative expression here.
Hikaru did take on d5 in the Title Tuesday game, but you're right, it's a very rare move. It was Hikaru versus Borknick 2022. Hikaru played cd, ed, and d4, and again, a rare move here is not the same as a rare move in like move 6 of a knight, or it's not necessarily going to change the flavor of the position that much. You can get some transpositions, right? You can go knight c3, a6, c takes d5, you can start with c takes d5, so it's more about the general contours of the position than about the specific move. With that said, of course, both Hikaru and Magnus are going to take some time to kind of adjust themselves to their surroundings before they choose a move.
Yeah, my understanding is after cd, if ed, then white should be a bit better. After d4, ed in a way is a fighting choice, because cd, knight d5 often lends itself to more exchanges than if white goes d4, then c5, and the whole center can disappear. But I'd be very surprised if Hikaru and Magnus went cd5 or repeated cd5 here. Let's see.
Okay, Magnus on the right side, about in the bottom camera feed, about to make a move. He hesitated there. Is it going to be knight c3, the most popular move according to the database? Not for Hikaru. He's played queen to e2. Kind of a cagey, flexible move, yeah.
Yeah. I like it, not committing to anything. If pawn to c5, white can still decide what setup he wants to play. Even d3, knight bd2 is still on the table. What should black do?
Ooh, first person to play queen e2, Mikhail Botvinnik in 1956 against the Swedish Gideon Stahlberg. Very strong player. Not a name that everybody in the chat will know, but he played in the very famous Zurich 1953 event. I think he did become a grandmaster, which is saying a lot. There were just a handful of them when the title first appeared. And queen e2 has been met by c5. Yeah, both of them played queen e2, c5, and now knight c3 by Magnus.
And rook to d1 by Hikaru, going his own way.
Wow. Smyslov versus Gipsless. Ulf Andersson had this position. Lots and lots of famous names. Yeah, and now the board's TV. Rook d1 by Hikaru on the left, and knight to c3, the sort of more conventional developing move by Magnus. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah. So many choices for black as well. You could make sort of a neutral move like rook c8 or rook to e8, slightly improving the position. Or you could commit, I think in both cases, to the structure with d takes c4, where normally white recaptures with the pawn, hopes to get a pawn majority in the center, but black's pieces are quite good. I've seen people play this d takes c, b takes c, and then some plans like knight e1 and f4 and g4. It's a very complex structure.
Oh yeah, I actually remember that there's some Kramnik-Friedman game that I remember in this line a long time ago. This f4 g4 idea. Good call. And the thing is, this is not purely a positional battle. This actually can get very tactical if, like an exchange happens in the center. This is not just a boring maneuvering snooze fest. I mean, there's a lot of tension in the center.
Yeah. And white pretty much holds the keys. He can go cd5, often leading to
Hikaru might even be looking at in some situations for a tactic, even with the queens up, but I don't think there's a way to make it work. I think should be a bailout somehow. Rook to d1, pinning the knight. Don't move it. Your rook is hanging. Vishy has to be careful now. Rook to c8, and rook g3 is basically just a draw.
f5, but that's not doing much either, is it? The knight can still jump to f4 even.
Let's go to the two-board view because Magnus is about to win his game same time as the climax is being reached. Hikaru and Vishy will shake hands shortly, I think. This is just a 3-on-3. And look at Magnus's pawns on e5 and d6. Bassem, again, struggling with the clock.
Positional clinic by Magnus. His pawns ended on e5, d6. The rooks and the knight on perfect squares hitting b6. Beautiful game.
Something
King
tells
has
me...
a clear path to d5.
Something tells me we're still going to get some intrigue in the Hikaru Nakamua game. I don't know why, but I feel like somehow that game isn't entirely over. I mean, obviously, if the knights were off the board, it would be. We'll see. Maybe it is. Maybe they'll just trade rooks. Yeah, I guess it's just a draw.
Rook c3.
Yeah. And rook t3. Yeah, never mind. Okay. But Bassem is still holding on, and Magnus is down a minute. He hasn't been able to get his king. He actually went the other way. He went back to g1, did Mr. Carlson.
Wow.
He didn't run, he went back. Okay, Hikaru Magnus, or Vishy and Hikaru exchanging all of the pawns. They will shake hands momentarily.
Yeah, this is over.
Magnus? In a bullet game now, rook f1 check. Let's go to the Bassem game, because, okay, Hikaru and Magnus have shaken hands. Or, sorry, I keep getting them confused. Vishy and Hikaru have made the draw. Just king versus knight on the board. That leaves us with the Magnus game. This is a